Mavericks, this is Rob Reinhold. It is August 23rd, 2022, end of summer, and I tell you what, we got a pretty end of summer boring day today for the most part. So let's take a look at the numbers here and let's see what happened. Let's focus here on the numbers first and just take a look at the movement in the S&P, only down 0.2%, the VT down almost zero. So we really didn't get much movement out of equities whatsoever. We got a move out of cryptos, but we'll get into that. That's pretty much all Bitcoin Cash. All the other cryptos were flat as well. The only other thing you could point to was oil. Oil had a nice jump today, and that is off of the news that OPEC may be cutting production if Iranian production comes online. So in the news today, we did get European PMIs. They were mostly lower. There was one number a little bit better, but Germany was strong. So that's been a really theme for the last decade. The Eurozone kind of weak, Germany being the strongest manufacturing. We also got PMI out of the UK. That rose a little bit better than expected to 52.5. And look at this number. US PMI dropped to 44. That's the lowest number since the pandemic, 2020. So if we take a look at the charts here, I want to really focus in on this candle because this candle is actually not a great candle. Now we had an expanded range candle to the downside, a big move down on Monday. And what happened today is we would expect it to be in the lower half of this prior candle, which it was. So this is a Harami tight candle. But take a look at this. We rallied throughout the day and then lost it all and closed at the lows. This is a sign that we're likely going lower, at least for the first part of tomorrow. But I want to take a look at where we are because you can see right in this range here, we've got some pretty good support all the way down to about 40.80 as the bottom of this range. So I think there's likely going to be some more selling tomorrow morning. And I think there could be a decent sized little rally off the 40.80 route. So that's another 1% down for the S&P. Maybe that rally doesn't come at all. Maybe it comes on Wednesday. Maybe it comes on Thursday. Again, we just don't know. All we can do is saying, okay, we do now know that there's areas of support right where we're trading. Today's candle was not a good candle if you were hoping for a bounce today. If we go over to the VT, really the same thing. We had a huge move down Monday, and we rallied and rallied, came up to the top, and then just fell apart. Just fell apart, ended down at the lows. We are in this band of support as well. But you can see once these bands of supports break, if they do, we're headed lower. I mean, let's just head back to the S&P here. If this support level breaks, we're looking down to 4,000. That's another 3% lower. So if we do break this level, we think the market is likely to head down to 4,000, which is likely going to coincide with the 50-day moving average. If we look at the cryptos, we can see that they have come down and found their level of support. So we had some resistance here, became support. So yeah, we came down, we broke through all these moving averages, broke through the 20, broke through the 50. So at this point, we have violated every single part of this uptrend that cryptos have been in. Yes, we're getting a bounce here, but this isn't a bullish move. This is nothing at this point. We've already broken the uptrend. If there's going to be an uptrend in the future, it has to reestablish itself above moving averages, have some pullbacks that hold before we can really even get bullish on crypto here. So we just don't like cryptos here much at all. Now, since we have slipped down below the 20-period moving average, we have to downgrade our market outlook. We were at a +2, we're now down at a +1. So this is mildly bullish. Until we break below that 50-period moving average, we cannot get majorly bearish. So at this point, we're either going to be +1 or a 0 or maybe even -1. That's what we're looking at for the next week or two, is a market that really isn't doing anything, maybe dropping a little bit lower, but with the bullishness is really looking very skeptical at this point. We already talked about the European PMIs today. As you can see, tomorrow, there's nothing on the schedule of any importance. And then Thursday, this preliminary GDP, just go ahead and ignore that. That's the second number of second quarter GDP in the US. No one cares about it, but we do get the Jackson Hole Symposium starting. We talked about the Jackson Hole Symposium in the weekend currency room. So if you want more information on that, go check that out. But if there's going to be any fireworks, it's likely to be Friday morning. when Chairman Powell speaks. That is going to be the time to be watching and seeing if there's anything new in this market. So let's take a look at the currencies here, really looking out over the next 24 hours. I don't think there's going to be a great trading market over the next 24 hours. Ankit broke down the currency recap yesterday, and this is where he ended off. Strong dollar, weak euro. We'll take a look and see what happened today, but everything else kind of lumped in the middle with maybe the Aussie a decent play. So yesterday, not a lot going on. Again, euro dollar, maybe the play, but other than that, you can see the velocities were stuck in the middle. And that's really what we got today, is we got a market that was pretty much in the middle. If we take a look at cryptos here, you can see that if you take out Bitcoin Cash as huge bounce, and I searched for news and I could not find any reason why this bounced so much. Other than that, it was a really boring day in cryptos. I mean, these numbers are very, very small for crypto. If we come over to foreign currencies, these numbers aren't stellar. These are okay. You know, things went up 1/3%. The things that were weak, the dollar and the Swiss franc, went down 0.5%. So there was, the best trade you could have made was 0.8%. If you were in something like short dollar CAD, short or long Aussie dollar, long Kiwi dollar, or those same three against the Swiss franc. Other than that, if you were trying to trading, Aussie against the Kiwi, there was nothing going on there. If you're looking to try to trade pound versus yen, there was just nothing there. This wasn't a great trading day, and this is what we usually get after a big down move or a big up move. You do get that one day of a harami consolidation before the market picks up again. Let's go through all the charts, assign a velocity score, and see if there's any tradable pairs of the next 24 hours. Here we are starting with Bitcoin against the dollar. This is a 4-hour chart, and we have our parabolic SAR, our 13-period EMA, and our RSI all up there to give us a velocity score. And you can see here, it's flat. We've got a flat EMA, we've got parabolic SAR that really aren't steepening or falling, and we've got an RSI that's just pinned at somewhere around 47. This is as close to a zero as you can possibly get. Now let's talk about the context of it, because this is a zero after a huge down move. So we had this huge down move, and we get a base. This typically leads to a breakdown and a lower low off of these bases after big falls. So if you are looking for a short opportunity, Bitcoin 2,800 is the point there where I think it's ready to go short. Long, I wouldn't go long at all. This is just not a great pattern to go long. Now I'm going to show you Bitcoin Cash, and I don't have any explanation for Bitcoin Cash. I remember as a young trader, sometimes I would literally yell to my screen, why is this happening? And you know what? It never answered me back. So I've stopped yelling at my monitor, and I've just shrugged my shoulders now and say, yeah, sometimes you never know. I don't know. Maybe there's some news out there, but I'm not going to chase this one. But if someone had a gun to my head and said, you have to trade a crypto right now, maybe I'd have to say it's Bitcoin Cash. But let's check out Ethereum and see if that gives us anything better. And frankly, I would actually rather trade this one. So let's take a look at where we are here. We are breaking out of this little resistance area. Look, I don't think there's going to be a great move, but when you're taking a look at technicals, taking a look at these cryptos, this one looks like it's building a little bit of strength. Relative strength is now above 50. It's starting to steepen. Things are actually starting to look a little bit better. So for me, I would look at Bitcoin Cash as maybe out of gas, and maybe Ethereum is just breaking out here. Where's the upside? 1820 is the next resistance. There's going to be a little bit of resistance here, this 1680. I just don't like any of these plays to the long side. I do think the equity markets go a little bit lower, and until those turn higher, I think cryptos are more of a sell than a buy. Finishing off with Litecoin, you can see Litecoin looks decent as well. Rising EMA, rising RSI a little bit, or at least above 50. So you can make a case for, a slight bullishness in Litecoin. But again, is this the best trade out there? If we were just looking at these four, I'd probably have to go long Ethereum. But here's the thing, is we've got all sorts of currencies we can trade. So let's jump into our foreign currencies, see if we can find something better. Now here's dollar. We actually had dollar on the strong watch list as a +3, and you can see over the past 12 to 16 hours, we had that big pullback. I want to look at this on a daily chart because we made this big run and we're having a pullback here. The question is, where is this pullback likely to end? And I'm looking at this support level here. And again, this is the dollar basket. This is the dollar pairs equally weighted against the other 7 currencies we look to trade. 121.8 is the current price. I think we could pull back to 121. So again, that's about a 0.75%, maybe a 0.7% pullback here. I'm looking actively to be buying dollar if it pulls back any more. We'll see what happens. But I did like dollar going into the week as a long. It didn't perform today. We got a pullback, so I'm just looking for opportunities to buy some pullbacks here in dollar. It's not ready yet. I can't click the button yet, but I do think it's going to give us a pretty decent buy opportunity this week. Going to the yen, and you'll see the yen is telling you nothing's happening. When you see this chart, just move on by. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to be smart. Don't try to project what you think the yen is going to do on this chart. It's just not going anywhere. We want momentum. We want velocity. And here we are. We just clicked over to a currency that is showing some current velocity. These are good moves. Again, this is a 4-hour chart. So we had 16 hours of really strong down movement in the Swiss franc. We are getting into some support here, so we can't ignore that. But for right here, right now, Swiss franc is weak. If we can bounce up off that support, I would love to look at a sell again right up here in the 127.20. Again, this is the Swiss franc basket that we use. Euro was looking to be the weakest this week. We still like it weak, and we actually love this price action. We got a big drop on Monday, and then we got a base today. We love these bases. These are some of our favorite plays. So we've got this low base coming here. The question is just the entry. We'll take a look at some individual pairs on this one to make some entry points, but Euro to me still looks very shortable. It's basing right now. It's just resting. We want to get in when the next move breaks lower. Now, pound was on my list as a great short this week as well. And you can see this week has shown us that it's not really going to go anywhere in the first part of the week. But when you take a look at the whole pattern, we have a clear down move and then a clear low base. We just need to wait for the bottom of this low base to break if it does. And then the pound is definitely back in play. One of the currencies I did not have on my board to trade this week was the CAD. And I said last week that the dollar and CAD were moving together, and the dollar was moving much faster than the CAD. So why would you trade the CAD when you could just trade the dollar? Today, look what happened. Dollar went down, CAD went up. We have decoupled. They were correlated together. Now they're decoupled. And the CAD is saying, hey, I want to go up now. I don't care what the dollar's doing anymore. I'm marching to my own drum. I want to go higher. We saw this big jump in oil here. So CAD was not on my list of tradable currencies at the first of this week. I am putting it on my list of trading currencies. And again, I took the pound off of my list of tradable currencies and put it back on the shelf. So I do like CAD here to the long side. Aussie, hey, it looks good. It went up, 1/3% in the basket. Everything's still looking great on this chart. We aren't going to be running into some overhead resistance until about 80.40 here. That's about 0.5%. So there's enough upside in this one to give this one a go too. So CAD long, Aussie long. And Kiwi, you can see the momentum is not there on Kiwi. RSI at 50, EMA is flattened out. Okay, the parabolics are steeping a little bit. We'll give that a +1. But it's clear that the CAD and Aussie are the ones to buy. And to me, it's clear that the Euro and possibly Swiss franc are the ones to sell. So here was where Anka broke everything down yesterday. Let's take a look at the movements that have happened. We've had the Euro and Swiss franc. They're still weak. The Euro isn't as weak. It's basing. The Swiss franc is more weak than the Euro at the moment, but these two are the ones to short going over the next 24 hours. We got dollar that disappointed. I got dollar moving all the way down from +3 to -1. I am looking at dollar as a buy some point later in the week, but not right here. It's got to bounce off of some support. Got to show me it's got some momentum before I can even start to take a look at it. We had crypto shift around a little bit. Bitcoin Cash got a bump up. I'm not going to chase it. Ethereum starting to look a little stronger. I'm not super excited about these. And then the one move, CAD. CAD is now on my buy list. So when I'm taking a look at things, CAD and Aussie long, Euro Swiss franc short. So let's look at those trades specifically and let's see if we can find some good entry points with some stops. Since CAD is my favorite and Euro is my favorite short, I'm going to be taking a look at Eurocad. Now these are really difficult trades to make. And the reason I say that is that, we like to be patient. We like to wait for good entries. And sometimes these things just seem to just fade and fade and fade and fade. This is where we like to use pyramiding. Whenever there's a trade that just seems to be going one way and it's not giving you a real opportunity for enter, you call this a very mild low base. If we look at this on a 1 hour chart, okay, we've got a little mild base here. Sometimes it's more important just to get in these trades than to wait for that perfect opportunity. However, what you don't want to do is get into the trade and then get bumped out because your stop got hit because it had a little bit of movement. This is where we really like pyramiding, where you say, okay, I'm going to take 1/3 of a position. I'm going to take 1/3 of a position here, and I'm going to have a very wide stop. So instead of having a stop at like 129.40, you'd have a stop at like 130. A very, very wide stop because you have a much smaller position. And then what happens is you just add on to this position over time. As it keeps dropping, keeps going your way, you add on a little bit more time. So these ones, like I said, they're tough to get in, the ones that just seem to go one way. There was a brief little entry point, but that was so violent, you probably wouldn't have been able to get in until at least came back down to like 129.20. I like the getting in a little bit. If it has a pop, go ahead and add some more. If it breaks below this 129, I think you add more as well. So that's the play here, Eurocad. If you want to go for something that's really moving, I'm going to go to CAD Swiss franc. So CAD Swiss franc, this is the one that has the most momentum. This was the best trade for the day. And you can see we had a big run up and now we're basing. So if you want to wait for a breakout on this one, I think that's a great call. 74.50 is going to be the breakout point that you want to watch for. So put an alert out there if it breaks that one. I like that with a long, and then you can stick a stop somewhere down here in the 74.25 range. So looking at about 25 pips of risk, that's about 0.3% on the risk. I don't like to be any closer than that. That is just too close. Let's look at one Aussie cross. So let's look at the euro against the Aussie. And this is an hour chart. Let's check out a 4 hour chart first. Yeah, so we just had a big drop. We're probably going to get a base or a bounce back up to this 144.10. Who knows what we're going to get, but I think a short anywhere above 144, I really like it. And I think you put a stop up here at 144.75. I think that is an easy stop at this point to where that means this truly has reversed. It wasn't just some short-term volatility. But I don't think you need to short it here. I think you can let it drift up into this 144.10 area, 144.20. Let it drift up into this area. Let it give you a red candle, give you a confirmation, and then I think you enter your position with the appropriate stop. I need all of our traders to be realistic here. We are likely not going to have real big movements over the next 24 to 48 hours. I actually think that it's going to be pretty boring until the Jackson Hole Symposium when Powell speaks at 10 a.m. Then I think it's a much more volatile time. So just be cautious on that one. Look to trade less, not more, when the market volatility is a little compressed. I think we're likely to see some weakness overnight. We had a really disappointing candle today that showed that the market is not ready to bounce yet. We closed on our lows, but we cannot ignore that we're reaching into those major support areas. So the S&P has maybe another 0.5%, 1% down before that support is severely tested. and I actually think it holds and has a little bit of a bounce off that. So I don't really love the next 24 to 48 hours trading. I think if you're really looking for the next great trade this week, I think you're going to find it on Friday morning. That is a currency recap. Thank you for joining me. See you. Bye.